Welcome back for the next episode of Socialist Canada and of GPS4 tutorial on economy and finances. We can see here that our operation, the Total Jihad in Canada, agent unprotected. So our undercover agent is now, his cover is blown, or it's in danger anyways.
Our agent's assessment is that there is a definite risk of it being spotted. Do you want us to attempt to bring down the organization now?
For some reason, that pop-up keeps disappearing on itself, which is new. I've never seen that before. Anyways, we'll do it manually. Yes, I want to dismantle now. We don't have any information on if they have an outside funder yet, but we'll just click dismantle. You can see the sign changes from organization infiltrated to organization being dismantled. All right, almost time for our June budget changes. And here is the promised G7 summit, ruled by the United Kingdom, reduce the debt of poor countries. Welcome one and all. As you know, we are gathered today to decide on how much to reduce the debt of the poorest countries with regard to the IMF and the World Bank. Prime Minister, we would like to have your opinion. What value do you wish to agree on? I'm going to right click on the plus button, the maximum 100 billion I'm going to suggest. That's just my vote as Canada. And I guess the final figure is kind of determined by consensus or whatever. And here's the results. Summit meeting. Well, after this round of conversations, we have reached a consensus. The amount of debt written off for the poorest countries with regard to the IMF and the World Bank is therefore fixed at $18.3 billion Canadian. I thank you for your attention, and I propose we enter the reception room where dinner is waiting for us. All right, so obviously most of the other countries wanted a much lower reduction than I did. We're playing as a rich, powerful, socialist country, so I want to help the poor countries as much as possible. But I guess basically the higher I vote, the higher the final figure. All right. Uh-oh, we have a kidnapping. Journalist kidnapped in the Netherlands by Dutch Fighters for Integrity terrorist group. Prime Minister, one of our nationals, a journalist, one Gary Dudfrey, was hijacked in the Netherlands by Netherlands Fighters for Integrity's members. This local terrorist group have claimed responsibility for the abduction and are prepared to broadcast a communique. They should not delay contacting us. All right, so what we want to do is create a network in Netherlands. I probably want about, well, let's do 38. That was my biggest network before. This should probably take priority. So in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, I already have a mole, and I'm already funding opposition parties. Well, in Qatar and Russia there aren't any, but in Turkey I am. So I'm going to reduce those networks by 10 each. Create a network. Netherlands. Here's a little tip. When you have this kind of drop-down menu of all the countries, you can just click the first letter, N, and it'll just flick to Namibia in that case. So Netherlands, right click, 38. Dismantle terrorist groups. And as soon as possible, I will send Agent 001 to Netherlands. I don't know if this helps, but what I like to do is send our spy satellite to Netherlands as well. What happened there? I zoomed in too far. So like near the capital. I don't know if that helps or not, but it might. So I might as well just do it. I'm not really fighting in Syria anyways. I already brought our troops home. My satellite is basically just sitting there doing nothing. Alright, are there any disasters for us to fund? Earthquake in Eritrea. Still estimating. Terrorist action in Somalia, still estimating. Terrorist action in Syria, still estimating. Terrorist action in Turkey, wow, still estimating. Alright, well, that was a lot of nothing. Alright, I'll just take a look at the newspaper and I'll be right back. Okay, we have some info on Qatar here now. I have proof that we are producing chemical weapons in secret in Qatar. I have already communicated this information to your secret services and they have recorded it in their files. A crunchy revelation, blah, blah, blah. Now that's weird. I didn't even know you could do that in this game. I thought you could only produce nuclear weapons. I thought every country just had chemical weapons. Anyways, let's check. What have we got on them all together now? Just the one thing or what? Consult secret files on heads of state. Qatar. Yeah, production of chemical weapons. Suspicions. So we don't even have proof yet. So I should send Agent 001 there to try. When your spies have suspicions, or when your mole has suspicions, often Agent 001 can get proof. Soon I'll be dispatching him to Netherlands, but I might as well send him to Qatar in the meantime. And generally, once you get 2 or 3 pieces of proof against a country, you can take them to the UN and you might be able to get sanctions against them, which is what I'll probably want to do with Qatar. We can't really replace their government, so probably I'll just go for sanctions. Setting an example. I wanted to come speak to you personally, Prime Minister, since I believe that in what are difficult times for so many of our citizens, you should show your solidarity by decreasing your salary. If you want to be a model for this nation, set an example. You will find that in return, people will be more willing to support you and make sacrifices. I am actually going to do that eventually when I have time. Okay, Operation the Total Jihad, we had a partial dismantlement. It's probably, I'm going to guess now that it's just 2 people arrested, because that's usually what happens the first time you have a successful dismantlement.
It's true that the blow cannot really be described as fatal. 2 arrests. But the 3-way analysis that I have carried out using the Watts model demonstrates that undermining the organizational potential of the group will introduce a non-negligible danger value that will no doubt weaken this network one day.
Okay, so then that's good. But obviously I want better dismantlement, so I'm going to increase agent training and the fight against terrorism. I'm going to cut some other sectors in just a couple days, because it's June. And what we want to do is, you'll see now, it just says void again, so they're not infiltrated. We need to re-infiltrate them. And you just keep doing that. And eventually the dismantlements get bigger and better, until you might even dismantle the entire organization. But it's June 1st, so let's check our debt tab. We don't have any loans coming in June because we have a surplus already. I want to meet those same people who I'm going to cut. Meet the head of police union. Actually, no. First, let's meet the head of the security. Or I should say last. And before him, the army. They're the 2 people that can really hurt you the most. And before that, Minister of Defense. And before that, the police union. By simply meeting with these people right before, and treating them nicely, maybe giving them a national medal or something, right before you cut their departments, they will stay happy with you. And that's good advice in this game in general. Like, if you're the head of a totalitarian government and you want to do something that's a little bit against your party's ideology, then, praise your party and butter up the general secretary right before you take actions, and then they won't get so mad with you. Alright, he loves me, so that's good enough.
Sure. Fine, fact. I'd be happy.
He likes me, but he doesn't love me. I might as well offer him the national medal.
With all my heart, thank you.
It didn't really improve his opinion of us. Sometimes people who are greedy will ask you for a bribe. The head of army is usually greedy, and he usually mentions a bribe if you give him the medal.
Fine, then. I'd be happy to.
But you can only give them the medal once, and I think in GPS4 you can only bribe them once. In GPS3 you could bribe them every time you met them. Anyways, he already loves me, so there's no point in doing that. I might as well save it. Someday he might not like me so much, and then I'll need to give him the national medal. Alright, let's check our indicators. Growth is dropping a little bit, which I thought it would, because remember I just banned the exploitation of non-conventional oil and gas, which is a reasonably big sector in Canada. Currency, is that rising? It rose a little bit. It's at 1%, but our key interest rate is already more than 0.5% above, 1.54. So we'll leave that for now. Unemployment, it rose a bit. And that's probably because of the changes to conventional oil and gas. Okay. And how about the crime rate? Crime rate is dropping. So, what I'm going to do is, in the last month of these first 3 quarters, I like to increase taxes anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a tax on redundancies. Paid to the state by a company that is laying off, this tax is calculated according to the level of pay of the relevant individuals. In principle, it is aimed at funding the public employment service. So in other words, it's a tax on companies that lay people off. So it's an incentive to keep people employed. It's a disincentive towards unemployment. What I like to do for these kind of value things, what is the highest value or lowest value, if I'm reducing something, that my party loves? In this case, it's 7.9%. And I like to do half of that. That way, it won't make the other parties too angry. My party will love it, and the other parties won't get too angry. So I'm going to put it to 4%. That'll save us $2.3 billion a year. That's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's not like the financial transactions tax, but this will also really help against unemployment. When you do this kind of thing, like reduce the work week or create a redundancy tax, what you'll usually see in the first month, like at the beginning of July, unemployment might actually go up a little bit, but then in the months after that, it should dip quite a bit. Don't forget that these kind of law changes take 2 or 3 weeks to pass Parliament anyways, so they're only going to have an effect for like the last week of this month. And sometimes because they do have a little bit of a negative effect on growth, unemployment will actually go up at first, but then it will go down by more in the following months. So it's going to pass. My party likes it 93%. So I will meet with the leader. I always meet with her unless she loves me. Whenever I'm proposing legislation, unless she already loves me and I have 100% party support, I like to meet her. Why not? Now, so that was taxation. Now it's time to make some more cuts. Environment. Like I said before, Canada doesn't really have earthquakes or hurricanes. Cut those. In real life or in the game. They don't really have those very much. Police. Let's check all the different statistics. Drug addiction rate is dropping. It was even until I increased the drug squad by 1 star. Now it's dropping. Violent deaths, dropping. Killed in road accidents, dropping. Okay, so highway patrol is already down to 1 star. We don't want to cut that any further. Securities and exchange. Oh, no. We want to cut. Oh, only the fight against illegal immigration we want to cut. Vice squad, political police already at 0. Highway patrol already at 1. So what I'll do then, that would save us 339.6. Now, if I cut criminal investigation, but I increase a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, I don't need to increase the drug task force. Will that save us even? Yeah, it will. Okay. So I'll try to do that. I think maybe these other fields are a bit more efficient with their money. And if it backfires, if the crime rate goes up, then I can always re-increase the criminal investigation squad. So there's a substantial saving. Secret Service. Do I want to cut the number of international agents? 250. That seems like a lot for Canada, doesn't it? Maybe I'll put it to 200. First of all, to reduce the number of special international agents, you can't reduce it past what you're already, the agents you already have in the field. So there, I'll put all these networks to 20 each. And then I can cut 50 more. Don't forget, I have a new one being constructed of 38 in the Netherlands. Oh, I can just right-click the negative. It'll go to 208. Okay, good enough. And I can cut military intelligence and industrial espionage. I might want to use those someday, and then I can re-increase the stars. But for now, let's just save some money that we're not using. No, I don't want to cut health. For work, normally I cut the checks on unemployed receiving payment. But in this case, because unemployment is actually rising this month, I'm not going to do that. I can do that later. Research. Cut the military research. We don't really need the newest high-tech weapons because we're not really going to be going to war very much unless some kind of emergency. And sports. Are there any disciplines I can cut? Kind of rich, individualistic sports. Oh, car racing has 0. I'll put that to 1. Sailing. I'll cut that. There. So that's all the cuts I want to make in sports. I don't want to cut that ever again, probably. I might even raise it in the future. Raising sports funding is also a cheap and effective way to get high popularity, by the way. So I think we're done and we can move on. And we'll see. Oh! I forgot to write down stats. Anyways, whatever. So yeah, just keep doing that in the last beginning of the last month of each quarter. Every March, June, September. You want to raise taxes and you want to cut spending. You have to do it in alignment with your own party's political ideology. I'm socialist, so I was cutting areas like the state, like, you know, spying and policing, and military intelligence and military research, and I was increasing the taxation on corporations who lay people off. Last time I increased it on financial transactions, so on the rich and on corporations. If you're playing as a right-leaning party, you want to do the opposite. You want to raise taxes on the more working class people, like the lower class income tax, or sales tax, VAT, value added tax is called, or company employee contributions to Social Security. And then you want to cut social spending. If you're playing as a right-leaning party, a really great way to cut spending is in the health tab. I'm not actually going to do this, but I'll just show you. If you cut the top 4 tabs by 1 star, Look at all that money, 45 billion. And then what you can do is increase by 1 star all the other tabs, which are much cheaper. Oops. Most of these other tabs affect individual associations too, like rich people, or the AIDS group, or the cancer victims group, or women. And so look, we would save $40 billion that way, which is enormous. I'm not actually going to do this because I don't believe in cutting health. But if you were playing as a right-wing party, this would be a great way to save huge amount of money. And it wouldn't really make the healthcare much worse overall. And it would make a lot of association, like single issue associations love you. I think though, cutting some of these, especially these are reimbursement for people. So in other words, single payer universal healthcare. So when you cut these, I think it does lead to an increase in poverty and homelessness. I have noticed that in previous games. All right. So this episode, I might as well cut it here. It's a little bit shorter than my usual ones. But again, now you see how to handle the finances. When we get through to the following October, you're going to see the opposite, where I spend money and cut taxes to stimulate the economy, because you want to do that at the end of the year, in the fourth quarter. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Please check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/Saint Simmer. And please vote on my poll as to what you want to see for the next playthrough, my next series. Feel free to vote other and just write down what you'd like, type in what you'd like to see. And thanks for watching again. I'll see you next time, YouTube.